Are you thinking about moving to the Costa del Sol in Marbella, but you have pets and you don't know where to start? Well, you're in the right place. I'm Chris Cassidy, the owner of New Sun Realty, and we help international buyers like you find their next dream home. This is the New Sun Network, and I am joined today by Andy Welland, and he is the owner of Golden Paws Pet Transport. Let's dive in. So, Andy, welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Good to have you on. So, tell
Glad to be
me
here.
and tell the audience who you are and what it is you do.
So I own Golden Paws Pet Transport. It's a family-run business operating here in Malaga region of Spain. And essentially what we're doing is we are moving people's pets between the Malaga region and the UK, travelling in and out once a month, and also bespoke trips for people as well.
Fantastic. And what made you get into pet transport?
Long story. I'll try and keep it very short though. Essentially, a friend of mine was actually moving back to the UK. And I happened to be at his house the day that his dogs were being picked up.
Okay.
He came in very concerned, looked at me, said he didn't want to send his dogs with the transporter. I came out, looked at the vehicle, looked at them. He wasn't happy, but he was flying that night. And it was just at that point, something just triggered and went, "Do you know what? It could be done so much better."
Yep.
And initially, he followed up on that. We had a chat. His wife was going to be the one that ran it. They moved back to the UK. She had a massive change of heart. And he just said to me, "Look, do you want to run with it?" It'd never been launched. It hadn't gone out there yet.
Okay.
And I went, "Do you know what? Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah. So you were here at the time already?
Yeah, I've been in Spain since 1998.
Right, okay.
My wife's been here since 87.
Right, okay.
Kids were born here, grew up here, so this is very much home for us. Previously used to work in real estate, but was looking for something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And pet transport, yeah, it's definitely a little bit different.
It's completely different. It's completely different. So rather than dealing with clients and everything else, your clients are obviously the pet owners, but you've got to
Yeah.
mainly deal with their furry friends.
I think the main thing you have to understand is we're working with part of somebody's family.
Yeah.
So I'd say the trust element from the owners to pass over their little furry friend to us to take on our adventures to and from the UK. But these days now, I'd say 70% of our clients are regulars going backwards and forwards once or twice a year. And then the rest is made up of people relocating one way or the other. So we've built our reputation up over the last 7-8 years, and now things are nice and steady.
Fantastic. And just in terms of, you mentioned there about how it started and about the way that these people maybe were doing it, and they weren't quite happy, and you thought you could do it differently. What was that, and what was the difference?
I think it was mainly things like the age of the vehicle,
Okay.
the quality of the crates that were in there, the way that they presented themselves. There was no communication really between when they booked it and when they actually turned up. They were late arriving.
Right, okay.
It just didn't really inspire them with confidence.
Of course.
And I think, like I say, when you are looking after part of somebody's family,
Yeah.
communication, we found out, is key. The whole kind of way you present yourself, the vehicle, the updates with clients, there's so much to it to give them that feeling of confidence that you're looking after part of their family, really.
So you've seen a gap, and that's been really about everything: the presentation, the timing, the communication, the quality of the vehicle, which obviously that's important, right? I mean, you wouldn't go in, you wouldn't put your kids in a dodgy car, so obviously,
No.
and people's pets are their kids, right?
First van that we put together was £7,500 of dog crates made by a bespoke company in the UK.
Right, okay.
Internal CCTV so we could monitor the dogs from the dash, aircon units, veterinary bedding, you name it, everything went into it. I'll admit now it was probably a bit OTT, and there's things that we've found just aren't practical and aren't really necessary.
Yeah.
The main thing is the relationships with the owners. I'm lucky that we're based here.
Yeah.
So something that we'll do before a trip, if a client's booking on with us and they're here, I have the opportunity to actually go and see them before a trip, before they've even booked, and say, right, okay, I'll come to you, we'll bring the van round, can meet the dogs, we can go for a walk, we can get the dogs into the van, let them have a good sniff around,
Yeah.
and just sit and have a good chat with them and put their mind at rest and let them know how it's all going to work.
So this is the first thing you'll do in terms of getting that socialising with that dog and just getting getting the owners a little bit more confident, right?
So I'm quite lucky, like 70% of what we do are regulars. So those are dogs that are going Spain to UK back again twice a year.
Right, okay.
So we get to know the owners really well. We get to know the dogs really well, the routes, the locations where we're picking up from, dropping off to. It's normally more the first timers. Everyone starts off the same. But I'd say definitely 100% of the time, the owners are more nervous than the dogs are ever going to be.
That's a good point.
So, yeah, it's get the owners nice and settled and the dogs are the easy part.
The dogs are the easy part.
Exactly.
I can imagine, right? I mean, it's because and there's a lot of people. I mean, obviously I'm in real estate, right?
Yep.
I deal with people coming out here and they've got pets, and they're already stressed out about the move
They've got a lot going on.
for themselves, right? For the new processes of buying a house, everything else. And then they've got their dogs and their pets to consider as well, and it can be an added stress, right? So what advice would you give for people who are maybe considering that and they've got pets, they just don't know? Obviously, they can contact you, but what other things would they
It's about the
benefit
timing,
from?
really.
Okay.
So if, say, somebody's relocating out from the UK,
Yes.
we normally get involved quite early because their pet is going to be quite high on their list of priorities, probably
Yeah.
more so than their sofa and their bed and their furniture being shipped over. But there are also legal responsibilities in that an owner and an animal must be travelling out of the UK within 5 days of each other.
Okay, I never knew that.
So the timing becomes paramount. So normally a conversation for us would be somebody would make an inquiry, we find out they're relocating to Spain. Okay, well, when? Well, we found a place, we've bought a place, we're now in the process of getting our visas.
Yeah.
You probably know this as well as I do, that from the minute they make that application to finding out is kind of a no man's land in that.
It's very grey. Yeah, it's a grey
Yeah,
area.
so if somebody was ringing us now and they said we're moving out in July, okay, but your visa also has to be in place before you can make a decision to move your pet, because when you leave the UK,
Yeah.
you have to be doing that within 5 days of your animal.
Right, okay.
So it adds another layer of stress to what is already a very stressful situation with dealing with lawyers here and
Yeah.
notaries and agents and buying removals, but they cannot leave the UK until they know when I'm going to take their dog for them.
Of course.
So yeah, to kind of get involved with them early on and just say, right, okay, so I actually work with a network of other transporters that I've worked with for many years that I'm happy to pass clients on to
Yeah.
if I don't have the availability, if my dates don't work, because somebody's just going to be ringing us up and saying, I've just got my visa through and I want to go this month. I get booked up 3, 4, 5 months in advance.
Is that right? Wow, okay.
Most of my regulars will start asking me now for all of my dates for next year.
Right.
So we already have regulars penciled in up as far as March, April already for 2027, because they're trying to work out their time in Spain around when I'm doing my trips,
Yeah,
because of the
course.
5-day rule. So yeah, it's complicated, but the idea is for us to kind of help take that stress away from them.
Yeah.
And we haven't even started on paperwork yet.
We've not, and we will go into that. But you've mentioned obviously the 5-day rule for coming here to Spain.
In and out.
Also, even if you're going back to the UK, the same applies.
So what you have, there's two ways a dog can enter or leave the UK. One is as a private pet, and the other one is a commercial import.
Okay.
So a private pet, the classification, you own a dog, it has its pet passport, you're going back to the UK, it can enter using the pet travel scheme, which states that as long as the animal and owner are travelling within 5 days, a third party can take them on your behalf. So when we get up to Calais, we have to prove to border control we have permission from you in writing to take your dog. I have a copy of your passport to prove who you are in relation to that dog. And the third and final thing will be a copy of your travel confirmation showing that you're entering within 5 days of your dog.
Right, okay.
Once you go outside of that 5 days, it becomes a commercial import.
Right.
So even if you privately own it and you're not travelling within 5 days, it's a commercial import into the UK.
Okay.
Then the whole process is very different. Dog has to go to kennels for 2 days, be inspected by an official locker vet here in Spain. We have to do IPAFs, register where the dog's going to, use import agents, pay import taxes, so we just don't go anywhere near it. It's mainly what's used for sending rescue dogs to the UK, where they're going to a new home, a new owner.
Yeah.
But it would be the same process for the owner if they're not travelling within 5 days. And at that point, we say no.
So the impact of this 5 days is massive, right? It's deemed as a commercial import.
Yep.
You have to do the kennels, you have to do all the tests and everything.
And
the
you're just
time,
adding a massive load of stress.
massive amount of stress. I never realised that.
So all of a sudden, from us being able to just pick up from the owner's house and drop off at the owner's house, we're having to say to the owner, right, your precious Fifi the Maltese is now going to go from your house, sit in kennels for 2 days, getting completely stressed, to then go on a 2-3 day trip to the UK. By the time the dog gets there, it's just going to be in bits.
Yeah.
Which is the main reason we won't touch it.
What's that?
Anything that's commercial import. Not for us.
Yeah,
Not for the dogs.
I can see why.
No.
I can see why. It's not a good way to start things.
No. It's just an extra layer of complication that's not needed. So we're always on this battle of how far in advance can we release our dates so the owners can work out their 90 days here.
Yeah.
Twice a year.
So they plan it around their dogs.
They do. They plan around things
in your time.
Yeah, they go when I say they can go, basically. So it's once a month, in and out. We don't touch August. It's too hot. So we've got 11 main trips throughout the year. And now the biggest problem is the amount of spaces we have on those is being reduced and being reduced and being reduced.
Yeah, which we'll get into. Yeah. So in terms of just the typical process, I mean, obviously they get in contact, but what does it look like for someone if they're, they've worked it out, they know their 5 days, all of that's...
Which way around? UK, Spain, or Spain,
UK?
If
they're coming from the UK to Spain, for example.
Okay. So after all the initial paperwork, if it's the owner's first time for bringing their pet out of the UK, priority number one, pet needs to be microchipped.
Okay.
After that, the animal needs to have a rabies vaccination to leave the UK. So in the UK, once the animal's had its rabies, they have to wait for a minimum of 21 days before they can leave the UK.
Okay.
But the jab that they give them in the UK is different to the one that they get here.
Right.
It's the same jab, but it's different. In that, in the UK, once they've got it, it's valid for a 3-year window.
Okay.
So say somebody's moving and we're speaking to them very early on, I'll say to them, look, if they've not had their rabies, go and get it now. Just because it's a box that's ticked, it'll affect when you can leave because of the 21 days. But because it lasts for 3 years, do it now, job done, box ticked. We can worry about whether it's June, July, September later on, but they're not going anywhere unless they've got their rabies jab. Good old Brexit presented us with another problem, which was up until then, UK was part of the pet passport scheme.
Okay.
When they left, that is an EU document. So the UK are no longer allowed to issue pet passports for pets. They replaced it with something which is called an animal health certificate.
Okay.
The animal health certificate has to be applied through a vet. Not every vet does them. It was an additional course that a vet could sit to be able to fill out the paperwork to issue them. So not everybody does it. And most vets see them as an admin process. So they're quite reluctant and expect prices anywhere from 150, 250, even higher sterling to get one.
Okay.
The vet can't issue it until a maximum or a maximum of 10 days before the dog's leaving the UK.
Okay.
Once they issue it, this is the thing I find the funniest out of all of it. That entitles a dog to be in Spain for 120 days.
Okay.
So a dog has more rights to be in Spain for a longer period of time than a person does. So you're 90, you're going home, your dog's still sat on the beach having a sangria. So yeah, once they issue it, you then have 10 days to leave the country.
Right, okay.
If it gets to day 11, that certificate becomes invalid. Wow. Confused?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So what we say to people is, we work with a vet,
right,
based in Ashford. You just fill in the details, the microchip, the rabies information, everything else. We collect the AHC on our way to the port. We'll give it to you when you get here. You don't have to worry about it because it's just way too complicated.
I think it sounds complicated, but also the timelines sound complicated there, unless you've got someone like you that can maybe take that, because that for me is a bit of a mind.
I think they're really already dealing with so many other things, we just say, look, we'll do that part for you. All I need you to do is make sure the dog has chip, rabies vaccination. We'll send you the link. You upload the information, including your flight details, to the vet's portal. When we get to you, we'll pick the dog up, we'll scan it, we'll send a copy of that chip down to the vet. By the time we get down to Ashford, he's finished, done. He comes, checks the dog, and we go to the port, and that's it. We're off.
Yeah. So that's the three things, the three really important things. If you're moving
rabies,
rabies, microchip, and
the animal health certificate.
The health certificate as well.
But it's all about timings.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so hard for people.
You need to be a project manager to lock all that stuff down, you know?
Yeah, then you've got the logistics of the trips and the timings on everything is just the bit. I suppose because we've done it that many times, for us it's just a pattern really that we know what we need. So it's about letting the clients know information, drip feeding it to them sometimes.
Yeah.
Because if we went through everything from on that initial conversation, by the time we get to the end of it, they're going, I don't know what to do.
I don't want to go anymore.
Just like, we'll go through it all, but we'll tell you what you need to do when you need to do it, just to make it easier.
Yeah.
And then a lot of regulars, what they'll do once they get here, if they own property here, they'll switch their dog onto a Spanish pet passport.
Ah, okay. Okay. And what happens with that? What's the difference?
So you've got a client, they own property here, they've got a registered address, they've got their TIE and everything else. They bring their dog to Spain on the first animal health certificate.
Yep.
When they get here, they can register their dog here at their property.
Okay.
Their dog then gets a Spanish passport. So again, it's easier to switch your dog to Spanish nationality than it is.
I was going to say, yeah.
And then with that, they can go backwards and forwards without having to get the animal health certificate.
Ah, okay. And is there anything the UK demands, though, of the dogs that are coming from here then to there?
The only major difference is the rabies, but because of where we are. Right. So being in Andalucía, with the proximity to Morocco,
yeah,
the jab that they've just been given in the UK, which is 3 years, they have exactly the same brand, exactly the same one here, but it's only valid for 1 year.
So not 3 years?
No.
Right, okay.
So it has to be done yearly, which throws another timing thing into the equation for the owners, in that if they use that Spanish pet passport to take their dog back to the UK with its rabies jab in, If that rabies jab runs out whilst they're in the UK, they can't use that passport to get their dog back out again. So the
Okay.
vet can then give them a new rabies jab,
Yep.
but the UK vet is not allowed to update that passport because it's an EU passport. And when we get to the border, the rabies has to be in the passport.
Right. Okay.
So if it runs out whilst they're in the UK,
Yep.
they've got to go back and get another animal health certificate to get their dog out again.
And then they'll get a rabies shot in the UK, but that'll last for 3 years, but they won't be
But
able to do anything with it.
They can't transfer that
Yeah.
into a Spanish pet passport. So it's timings,
Timings.
keep everything. So when we're doing paperwork with people going back, we're getting them to send through photos of ownership details, the issuing of the passport, the rabies page, all these different things so we can look at it and go, hang on a minute, that rabies is going to run out. That's a regular client of ours. Yes, there's enough on it to get the dog back to the UK, but if they're coming back out in June, there isn't enough on there to get the dog back out again on that passport. So I'll ring the client up. Hi, Jackie, rabies is about to run out. Make sure you get it topped up. Otherwise, in March, we're going to have a problem getting the dog out again.
Yeah. So what paperwork is it they need to keep? So you've mentioned a couple there, but can you just go into that in terms of what paperwork you need in order to get your pet here and to keep that documented? I'm assuming.
The two main ones, if it's coming out of the UK the first time, is the animal health certificate. I think we covered that
Yep.
part of it. The Spanish pet passport here. So although there's a lot of people moving from the UK to Spain, there's still a lot of people relocating back to the UK for various reasons, whether family matters, whatever it is. So in those Spanish pet passports, it's got the registered owner. So that is then the person that has to tie in on all the other paperwork.
Right.
So you could have husband and wife, but if it's the husband's name that's in the passport, he is the official registered owner of that animal.
Right. Okay.
So then it's his name. The next thing would be permission in writing to us, which is our booking form, which has got a declaration on the top of it. That has to be signed by him, not the wife. All of it has to be in his name. We then need a copy of his passport. We then need a copy of his flight confirmation or travel confirmation showing that he's entering within 5 days. So when we go from here up to Calais and we cross in, they're going to go through everything. They will go through, first of all, the pet passport, checking the rabies, the microchips, the owner's details. The other thing before we leave here is the dog has to go to the vets to have a tapeworm treatment, a medical examination.
Okay.
Tapeworm treatment is just a tablet,
Yep.
but again, timings. So the tapeworm only becomes valid after 24 hours from being given.
Right.
Once it's been given, you then have a window of 120 days to enter the UK.
Okay.
So we always leave on a Friday, so we'll tell clients you do it on a Wednesday. The dog is clear by Thursday. We're on the road Friday. We're entering the UK Saturday. If you do it too early, we're going to refuse that dog on the day.
Yeah.
Because if we get up to Calais and it's past the 120 hours, they'll refuse entry for the dog. We then have to take the dog to a vet, get another tapeworm, and wait 24 hours before we can enter the UK.
Wow.
But that's then with a van full of
Other dogs.
other dogs. So timing on that. So trying to juggle all those at the same time, we just had to build a routine and say to people, right, this is when you do this is when you do that, and that's it. It's just the only way we can possibly do it and manage it. But I can imagine if somebody tried to do it all themselves, we know instances of clients that we've had phone calls. I've got myself up to Calais. I've got my dog. They're refusing entry for my dog. Why? They're saying it's a tapeworm. I've done the tapeworm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you've done it too early.
Right.
So now you're stuck in Calais. Go and get another tapeworm done. Wait 24 hours and then cross.
Then cross. There's a lot to think about there. And just in terms of the the sort of the process, because I think I mean I'm thinking about for them, right? It's difficult for one person, right? But you've got quite there's a lot of dogs that you're transporting at the same time.
Seven
So
max.
7 max. So even you managing that sounds a lot. Because you've got what they've got to do. I mean, obviously you're not having to go to the vets and do this, but you've got that management of that and the timelines and everything sevenfold. In my mind, it sounds really complex.
14.
14.
Because a trip for me, so for an individual client, they're going Spain, UK.
Yeah.
I'm going Spain, UK, and then UK
Wow.
back again.
So 14-fold.
So, yeah. So a trip for us is a week on the road,
Right.
starting from this end. So Spain, UK, take the dogs over and then pick up and come back. So I will sit down literally about 2 weeks before each trip to close it off. So we've got all the bookings in. I've then plotted where all the pickup locations are, drop off locations are, and I literally have to go from. So normally, let's say our first pickup would be somewhere La Linea, maybe. On the Friday morning, I'm going down to La Linea, working my way back along the coast, collecting. But I've worked out the timing of that 2 weeks previous. So before we do each trip, every trip is set up as an event on our Facebook page. So all the owners get sent an invite link to the event. So the first thing that goes up there is reminders of everything that they have to do before we pick them up.
Yep.
And then there'll be the itineraries, which will be, so I might be La Linea at 7, then picking up in Estepona, coming back towards Marbella, Mijas, but they will be given a specific time.
Time slot, yep.
7, 8:15, I'm there at 9, and then once we're on the road, we're up, and by the end of day 1, we are typically somewhere around Bordeaux.
Okay.
Second day is then Bordeaux up to Calais, doing all the paperwork, crossing in. Third day is then drop-offs in the UK, and that sees us zigzagging everywhere, coming in at Dover, through London, up through the Midlands, up into Manchester, could be up as far as Glasgow, could be
Yep.
Edinburgh. Once everybody's off, day of rest, start collections, come back again.
Wow.
So a trip is 7 days and probably on average around about 7,000 kilometers.
It's a lot.
With all the timings for the collections, the drop-offs, we stop and walk the dogs 4 times a day, so that's all built into the timing of it. When we're on the road and we've got dogs in the van, we never leave that vehicle unattended. So the way the van is set up, it's actually got 2 sleeping areas in it.
Okay.
For me and my wife, Nikki.
Yep.
I think the week on the road with my wife is the most stressful time.
So not the dogs.
The dogs are the easy part. But yeah, just being in a confined space is can be quite stressful.
I can imagine.
I did it for almost 4.5 years with a good friend of mine, but unfortunately he retired at the end of last June.
Yep.
And my wife was like, "Yeah, do you know, I think I've come onto the road now."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, let's give it a go."
Yeah.
Glutton for punishment. But no, it works well. It's good because she's known all the clients for years by speaking to them over
Just
the phone.
makes sense.
And now she's actually meeting them as well.
So it's a proper family business.
Yeah. So it's kind of like she'll do 2 hours, then we pull in. We'll do a quick Le Mans-esque style switch over. I'll do the next 2, and by the end of that 2, I know pretty much where we're going to be, where the next best place is to get the dogs out, walk them. We're then taking videos. She'll then start driving again. I'm editing all those videos as we're going along, uploading them onto the event to update everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot to do, even when we're on the road.
It sounds. And what? So I mean, you've sort of mentioned loosely some of the things, but what can people expect? I mean, obviously they've done their paperwork. They've gave you your dog. You've got their dog. What can they expect? I mean, what can the dog expect? But what can the owners expect during that trip?
In terms of what, updates or
Anything updates?
Information.
What the dogs? How many dogs there is, and and the van, everything.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, as we're picking up,
Yeah,
they'll get to see inside the van anyway, the crates, the spaces they're in. Dogs are easy in that routine is key.
right.
Routine makes my life easier, more manageable, and less stressful. So we'll say to the owners before a trip, right, if they've got a bed, blanket, something that is familiar to them that can go in the crates with them,
Okay.
then fantastic. But just for that familiarity, for the comfort.
Yeah, and the smell and the scent.
Yeah, we've had owners on this last trip giving us dressing gowns. We've had jogging bottoms. We've had all sorts of weird and wonderful things to put in the crates with them. But yeah, that comfort and that familiarity and smell is always good. We'll say to the owners to basically portion up and give us food what they would have,
Yeah,
and let us know when they'll have it. Again, just keep them in the same food. Say, I don't want dogs. We used to do it with our own food, wet and dry, but I stopped it very quickly. I don't want dogs having a dodgy stomach
of course.
from change of diet. So the owners will package up and give us to us their food. They'll put in soft toys, chew toys, keep them occupied. But for the dogs, once they get in there, the way the crates are, it's a bit like a horse with blinkers. Once they're in there, they're not seeing the other dogs. When we walk them, we only walk one dog at a time each, and we walk in different directions because we don't know how they're going to react. So a lot of it is about routines. It is about familiarity. If I've got a van with calm dogs in,
Yeah,
it's easier for me.
of course.
And to be fair, I think it's the movement of the vehicle sends them off to sleep. We have no bulkhead in the van, so we can see, hear. It's like a mesh. It's not completely open, but we can see, hear, smell,
Yeah,
everything. We have to stay in that van for a week. So stopping, comfort breaks, get them out. And even when we stop, whichever order we do it in the first time is the order that we keep every time. Whoever is walking that dog is the person that's taking that dog every time,
Right.
just for routine.
Yeah.
And once they get into it, it makes our life easy. Even when we stop and drop the dog off, they'll go crazy. They'll see their owners. And we like to do it is to tell them to jump back in the van, and the dogs will jump back in the van, and the owner's like, oh, right, I thought, yeah, okay. But it's the routine that they're used to, and they get used to it. So
And what sort of updates can people expect when they hand their pet over to you, their dog over to you? What can they expect to get through that journey?
So everything that we do is done via an event on Facebook.
Okay.
So so before the trip, it's all the pre-information with the timings and the routes and everything else. Then once we're on the trip, every time we stop, I'm taking video and I'm putting updates, reels together for the owners, telling them where we are. They get to see their dogs. So there's 4 updates a day just off of the walking.
Yeah.
It's nice to have all the owners in one place because they'll get to see exactly what's happening, but it also means I haven't got 7 different owners ringing me saying, how's Ruby?
What's going
how's
on?
Poppy? How's Penny? They can invite their friends, their family to follow it. We've turned up in places before where there's been people that have never even sent a dog with us. We turned up at a hotel in Manchester to drop a dog off, and this lady came out and she's like, oh, I can't believe you're here. I'm like, who are you? Oh, I follow all your trips. I just saw that you were here and I only live around the corner and I wanted to come and meet you and can I have a picture? I'm like, this is a bit...
A celebrity.
Weird. A bit
A
weird.
pet celebrity.
We had 20 people turn out to meet us at a village up in the mountains down in Malaga one day. Came round the corner and there was all these people at this bar, and as we came around the corner, like, hey, right. Okay, this is a bit strange.
That's brilliant, though.
Good fun.
But it shows it's working, right?
Yeah, and again, from our side of things, with social media these days, especially Facebook, our owners end up become our marketing team.
Yeah.
Because there'll be a Fuengirola coffee group on Facebook, a Manilva coffee chat, whatever it is, and somebody will put in there, looking to get my dog back to the UK.
Yeah.
and it's our clients that recommend us, and you can't get any better than that, really.
Word of mouth.
Yeah, and then I'd say 90% of what we do comes for new clients is kind of that social media, Facebook, Reels,
Yeah.
people get in contact with us via Instagram, and
Yeah.
yeah,
I think if they can see that you care, and other people, are giving that word of mouth, it helps their confidence, right? It takes a
Yeah.
little bit of that stress away.
yeah, 100%.
But I think also for me, the big stress reliever is you guys dealing with the timelines and the paperwork and helping me all of that stuff anyway to make
It
sure
is
people have got
difficult
the ducks in a row. 'Cause
with
that could
everything
be,
else they've got going on.
yeah,
That's the hardest thing, I think,
yeah,
is managing the owner's stress level rather than the dogs.
of course,
The dogs is the easy bit.
yeah,
That's why we say we only do the 11 trips a year. People say to us, why don't you do 2 trips a month? But honestly, no, it takes it out of you.
of course it will.
And honestly, it's not enough time in between trips to reset, prepare. So it's like 3 weeks of prep to do a week on the road.
Yeah,
I know companies out there that would do it with one driver, and we've just said no,
yeah.
no way, never.
You need to do it right.
If something ever happens, you can't be dealing with the situation that's happening and the animals as one person.
Yeah,
So I just said we'd never ever do it that way as I don't know whether you do it as a cost cutting thing. But
no,
you think 7,000 kilometers in a week as one person and getting out and walking dogs,
it's too
and
much. It's far too much.
you can't do it.
And something's got to give, right? And it'll be the welfare of the dogs, I would
Yeah.
imagine, which is we don't want to do.
It's like now we're back now. We got back on Thursday. In the next 3 weeks, van's going back in for another service. I mean, every second trip it's in for a full service, oil changes, filters, everything else, maintenance checks. But then we've now got to start closing off for the February trip.
Of course.
Tomorrow, I'm actually driving back to the UK.
Okay.
So, apart from the main, just call them joint group trips, I also drive people's cars and their dogs for them.
Right.
So, I've got a client that I drove their car and their dog down here between Christmas and New Year. They were supposed to be going back in February, but they had enough of the bad weather and asked me if I would go early for them and take the dog back when I got back from this trip.
Okay.
So I arrived home on Thursday and I'm driving the car and the dog back to live in St Anne's starting tomorrow morning.
Wow. So personalised trips as well.
Personalised trips as well for people that just sometimes it doesn't work. Or say
Can't
don't
fit
work.
it within the monthly.
Yeah, or they just want to spend 6 weeks rather than a fixed date.
Yeah.
We do it with people that are relocating one way or the other. So say they've got 5 pets,
Yeah.
and they're coming out of the UK, and they ring me up and say, "Oh, we want to go in June," and I'm like, "Well, I've already got 3. I've only got 3 spaces left."
Yeah.
It might work out better for them to just say, "Okay, well, if I've got 5 animals, then let's just go for a bespoke trip. Cost-wise, it's going to work out roughly the same." Anyway, but it gives them a bit more flexibility.
Of course.
As long as it doesn't clash with one of my other trips, then we can look at bespoke trips.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. And are you seeing any? I think we alluded to Brexit earlier on, but are you seeing any changes that are coming in, or maybe have happened, or due to happen as a result of being in Spain and slash working with the UK?
It was one of the hardest things starting the business when we did, which was about 18 months before Brexit.
Right. Okay.
And then once Brexit kicked in, it wasn't like, what's the best way to put it? They weren't really prepared, I suppose.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they said, right, 1st of January, this is everything you now have to do. It was drip fed in over almost 2-3 years, especially with customs and border controls. And even now in the last 6 months, we've been getting more changes.
Okay.
The way that we enter and leave the UK has changed in the last 6-7 years. We used to use Eurotunnel. We could go through with 20. Then they went down to 5.
Pets.
With
Yeah.
pets. Anything above that, had to be on commercial imports. So currently, at the moment, the only way in and out for us is we're classified as freight. We go with Irish ferries between Calais and Dover, but it's all going to go on its head again. So there was a new Animal Welfare Act, which started a process almost 2 years ago. And what happens is that got presented into the House of Commons.
So in the UK, yeah?
In the UK. It went through the 6-7 stages in the House of Commons, went into the House of Lords, passed the stages there, and then in December it got royal assent. So in this new Animal Welfare Act, we tried to present an argument for the changes they were bringing in. A group of us got together, tried to contact the MPs in the UK, started putting petitions together, but it's been passed. So regardless of what we tried to do, the main things in that are, for us as a company, is they're going to be reducing every vehicle that enters or leaves the UK to a maximum of 5 pets.
And what is it right now?
So at the moment, I can go in with 10 as long as there's 2 of us in that vehicle, so 5 per person.
Okay.
But we've seen it go from 20 down to 10 to 20 as one person back up again, and now we're going down to 5.
Wow. Okay.
Even with 2 people in the vehicle.
Wow.
So that's been given royal assent. We're waiting on commencement date and secondary legislation, but I would expect that that is going to come in probably second quarter this year.
Right, okay, pretty soon.
Yeah, I say it's already been approved. It's already got royal assent, so it gets passed back to DEFRA in the UK. They come up with the secondary legislation. They give us a commencement date, and then after that, we're 5 in and out.
Wow.
So it's going to have a big impact.
Yeah, I would imagine costs and everything else. It's
costs. Yeah, we've advised a lot of people. Sometimes when our dates don't work or they're considering doing it for themselves, I honestly don't mind sitting and explaining to somebody the process for them driving with their car and their dog from, say, Manchester to Marbella.
Yeah.
Giving them advice on things like the animal health certificate, giving them advice on routes, silly little things like in France, you've got the toll roads, which is the quickest way to get down through France.
Okay.
However, if you're in a right-handed vehicle, when you get to a toll booth,
all right enough, yeah.
the toll where you pay is on this side of the van.
You know what? I've never thought about that, but you're right.
But you can get little like sensors that you can put in your car, so when you go through, you just drive through. But there is nothing worse than being in a right-hand driven car, going to a toll booth and going, and then you can't reach it. You have to get out, go and pay a booth.
All those little nuances.
Yeah, just little things like if they're doing Spain, UK, we always say to them, look, make sure you fill up with fuel before you enter France.
Yeah.
At the border, at Iran, here's some locations for you. Here's some great places to stop and walk the dogs. I think people sometimes they'll do it once.
Yeah.
And then go,
never again.
No, that's a long way. And then the time's on them. They'll stop at pet friendlies, hotels. So, but we've had a lot of recommendations from people like that. We've actually gone, listen, we can help you. And okay, we're not doing it, but let's help you out. And they'll either come back the second time and go, do you know what, Andy?
Here you go.
Can you just do it for us?
Exactly. It's a full-time job.
Exactly.
Andy, it's been an absolute pleasure
Brilliant.
having you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, okay?
Good fun.
Thank you.
Take care.